Whether you are setting up a brand new Mac for the first time or you are just reinstalling macOS to get a fresh start, here are the apps that I would recommend that you install to get the most out of your Mac. So the first thing that I would recommend that you install on your new Mac is a different web browser. So the web browser is a program that you're going to use to access the internet. So if you're going to a website, you're going to use your web browser. Now, the one that Apple includes with macOS is called Safari, and Safari is a good browser. It does integrate with iCloud, so you can synchronize your favorites and history between your devices if you want to do that. But I've found over the years that different websites may work better with different browsers. So for example, I've found many times that a certain site may not work very well with Chrome, for example, but it does work with Firefox or it does work with Safari. So it's good to have a variety of different browsers on your machine. So if you ever find a site that doesn't work so well on one browser, you might hop over to a different one and try it. Now, I personally like Firefox for a lot of reasons. There's also one called Brave, which does block ads, which is pretty cool. But there's also one called Arc, which is kind of newer for macOS. It looks really promising. I've not tried that one out yet personally, but I know that many people do like that and it comes highly recommended. So you might try Arc, but Safari is a good browser. I do recommend that one. However, it's always good to have a variety just in case you ever need one. Depending on what you do with your Mac and how you plan to be using it, so as a student or in a business, or even just for personal use, you probably will want to install an Office suite or a productivity suite of some kind. Now, Apple does include the iWork suite, which includes Pages and Numbers and Keynote, and those are all good programs, and they look and they work as you would expect an Apple app to work. They're very seamless and they are intuitive, I think, and they're very fast and have some really cool features. There is, of course, the Microsoft Office suite, which includes Word and Excel and PowerPoint. It's a good option for many people. Not always the cheapest, depending on what you want out of your Office productivity suite, but there is an option for you if you would like that. There's, of course, LibreOffice, and LibreOffice is a free open source option. So if you want the robustness of Microsoft Office, but you don't want to spend the money for it, then LibreOffice may be a good option for you. Now, one thing to keep in mind with that, though, is that LibreOffice, it does have some formatting issues I have found with the Microsoft Office suite. So if you have a Word file or a PowerPoint file, for example, and you open that in LibreOffice or vice versa, you might lose some formatting. So some things might be out of place, might not look exactly as you expect. So do keep that in mind. But there is, of course, Google Drive, and Google Drive is a good option. I find myself using that more and more, even though I do have Office installed on my computer. So even though I've got Word and Excel and all those other programs on my Mac, I do find myself using what Google offers even more because it does have some good features and I can use that from a web browser. I like it a lot. So check that out. But think about how you're going to be using your Mac and which of these might be best for you. Notion is possibly my favorite Mac app of all time right now. And the good news is it's not only a Mac app. It will also work on Windows or on iOS, so on your iPhone or on an iPad or even on Android, or even if you're on Linux, for example, you can use it on the web, which is very, very cool. And Notion is a tool that is great for organizing thoughts, for taking notes, for keeping organized information in a way that makes sense to you and how you work. And the really cool thing is that Notion can be set up to work the way my brain does, which is kind of scary. And that's an uphill battle some days. So I really like it. I love using it on my iPhone and on my iPad. I can make a change on one device and it will synchronize to my Windows computer, to my Mac, to my other devices as well, and even on the web if I want to use it there. So there are paid versions of Notion available, and you can go for the monthly paid version if you want to. I personally use the free version, but I do pay for the $10 per month Notion AI add-on, which honestly I think is worth it because there are some really cool things that you can do with that. You may not find that worth it. So if that's the case, then just go for the free Notion version, and I think that you will like it a lot. So definitely check it out if you're a student or a business owner or just someone looking to organize your thoughts. Check it out. Apple's recommended way to remove programs from your Mac is to drag them to the trash and then empty the trash. And that does work, but it will also leave behind other things like preference files and database files and cache files, which may or may not actually come with the program. So there's a program called AppCleaner, which I think does a much, much better job. And what it will do is it will allow you to delete a program and then go through and scan for any extra files left over and then remove those so those aren't taking up space on your computer. Highly recommend that. So as you're using your computer, you decide, I don't really want this program anymore. You can use AppCleaner, remove it completely, and actually have more space on your computer than you would otherwise by going through Apple's method. If someone comes to me and says, Michael, my Mac is running slowly, what can I do? One of the first things that I would run on that Mac is a program called OnyX. And this is a tool which I've been using for many years on Macs to clean them up and get them optimized and working as best as they can. So what this tool does is it will just do a general system cleanup of the computer and delete old index files from Spotlight, clean out system log files, things that aren't bad, but they're not necessarily helpful to you in every case. So going through and removing a bunch of junk files with OnyX, you can speed up your computer a bit, depending on what your symptoms are. So I highly recommend that. Now, do be careful here. If you do download OnyX, make sure that you're getting the version for your version of macOS, because there is a version of OnyX for each major release of macOS. So like Ventura, Monterey, and El Capitan, and all these. Make sure that you're getting the right version for your computer, otherwise it may not work. As much as I can appreciate the fact that Apple does let their systems run very, very quietly, I don't always appreciate how warm they can get. So there's a program called Max Fan Control, which will let me determine just how warm the computer will get before the fans will spin up and actually start to cool the system down. So I love how quiet my MacBook Pro is, especially when editing 4K video, for example, but I don't always want it to get as warm as it does. So using Max Fan Control, I can say, don't let the CPU get too much warmer than a certain degree before the fans will start to kick up and cool itself down. So I actually used that program just a couple days ago because I accidentally left my Mac in a hot car. Not a good idea, don't do that. But as soon as I pulled it out of my backpack, I opened it up and turned on Max Fan Control and set the fans to run at full blast and cool the system down as quickly as possible so that it wouldn't stay warm for too long. And that's a really cool tool for someone who, like me, is more conscious of those temperatures, and I don't want my Mac to be damaged over time by heat. Now, if you've got a MacBook Air, unfortunately that won't work for you because your Mac has no fan, but if you've got a Mac with a fan, Max Fan Control is a really cool tool. A while back, I had a really frustrating moment. I was trying to upload a video to YouTube, and I left the house. I thought the upload would just keep going. I don't have to worry about it. It will just do its own thing, and that's great, right? Except after about an hour, I checked my phone and realized that the video wasn't live yet. I was confused, and I got home and realized the Mac had gone to sleep. Not cool. Now, I should have known better. To be clear, I should have known better. But had I used a tool like KeepingYouAwake, I could have told the Mac, don't go to sleep for a set period of time or indefinitely, and the upload would have finished with no problem. As it was, I had to resume the upload and then wait for it to finish, and that made me late for getting that video uploaded, which was not great, and I was frustrated and annoyed. But KeepingYouAwake will let me decide just how long I want my Mac to be on before it sleeps, if I want it to sleep at all. Now, there are other programs out there which will do the same thing, but KeepingYouAwake does a good job for me. I like it a lot, so check it out. One feature of Windows that I wish Apple would copy from macOS is the ability to drag windows to the edges, the top, or the corners of the screen and have them snap into place. That's something that we've had in Windows ever since Windows 7, which came out years and years ago. macOS still does not have that ability. Now, you can tile things to the left or the right of the screen, which is nice, and I'm glad that we can do that at least, but we can't do it quite as seamlessly and fluidly as we can in Windows. So I wish Apple would copy that. However, there are apps like Magnet, which will do a very, very good job of replicating that to an extent. Now, Magnet is a paid app, and I got that from the Mac App Store a few years ago, and I like it a lot. It was worth every penny. But there are free apps just like Rectangle, and Rectangle is very similar to Magnet in that you can tile things on the screen, you can assign hotkeys, which is awesome. Now, there's a pro version of Rectangle, which gives you more customization and more tools as well if you do want that. But if you want to just kind of replicate the window management experience on Windows on macOS, then you can do that with one of those two cool tools, and I really, really like those. So check them out. And if you like Magnet, then consider buying that. If you like Rectangle, then possibly consider getting the pro version of that, but both of those are great tools. Well, thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, then please like it and click that thumbs up button and then subscribe. I would really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.